Straw Hut Media.
Hi, guys.
Hi,
Welcome
everybody.
to Better Together with Ann and Heather. We're excited for you to listen today to Perez Hilton.
You have to listen to this. I mean, come on. We all have opinions about people, and that's what we're talking about on this episode. What does it mean to have opinions about people, positive or negative, and what is our responsibility within that?
To get to know them.
That's right.
And have an informed opinion. So as we always say on this show, do one of three things or all three. What do? We either be productive while you're listening to us, clean your house, exercise, or just relax.
Learn something, hopefully, that you take away with you from the week that makes you give more to your community.
Or just fucking feel better.
There you go. Feel good.
Cheers. Enjoy the show.
We're better together with Ann and Heather.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Better Together with Ann and Heather. Today, we have a delight on our show. A man who has stuck up for me, stood by my side, said things that are so wonderful, and we want to say them right back to Perez Hilton, who is on our show
Well, we
today.
haven't dug that far back to
Come
know
on.
if all of them have been nice.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, you can tell us if we've said something negative. I'm going with a positive these days.
Okay.
Take it away, Heather.
All right. We're thrilled to have Perez Hilton with us today. It's a name that I think everybody
knows.
He's a blogger, a columnist, and a media personality. His blog, known for posts covering gossip items about celebrities and for posting photos over which he adds his own captions and doodles. Perez has faced controversy and criticism for his coverage of celebrities, but now, a father of three, he looks at his earlier work a little differently. He recently made a statement where, in part, he said, "I'm genuinely sorry for my behavior over a decade ago, and I think my change and growth is obvious. I know I'm a different and better person today." In addition to his blogging, Hilton has written 4 books, hosts a podcast with Chris Booker, runs 2 YouTube channels, has acted in 2 off-Broadway shows, and in 2018, he was dubbed the original celebrity social media influencer. We are happy today for the opportunity to get to know you better, Perez. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
What a lovely intro.
Well, you know, one of the things that I'm really impressed by in human beings is the ability to look at themselves and say, "Look, I am here to grow, I'm here to change, and I'm here to be a representative of that." I think that's one of the things we respect the most is people taking responsibility. Can you talk to us a little about your transformation into this new place where you are?
Well, I'm going to give you the truth as I see it, which
Perfect.
may not
That's
be
what we're about
what-
here.
May not be what you want or expect.
The truth
You
is
know-
always what we want.
Well, recently, I've been apologizing a lot, and there's some people who tell me, you need to stop apologizing. You've already apologized. But my response to those people is, clearly, I haven't apologized enough if there are people who are saying, oh, that apology has come too late, or now he's finally apologizing, when I've actually been apologizing for over a decade now. The journey for me, cheesy as it sounds, really began when I made a focus on my health. When I became a healthier person, I became a happier person. I found that direct correlation, and I started having different thoughts, happier thoughts. But for about a 2-year window from old Perez to newer Perez, I was paralyzed by fear because this change happened in 2010. And by that point, I had already been doing what I do for 6 years a certain way.
Yes.
So I kept telling myself, no, you can't do this. You can't rebrand like that. You can't change. People won't accept it. So I just did nothing, even though I wanted to change already. And there came a point where I'm a big Otheist, as I call myself. I love Oprah. I grew up watching Oprah. And if you have not watched the very last episode of the Oprah Winfrey Show, it's something that I go and I watch maybe like once a year because it's kind of her master class on life. Everything that she learned, she distilled into this 60-minute episode, just her by herself talking to her studio audience.
Wow.
And Oprah said, just listen. The universe, God, whatever you want to call it, has the answers. And if you don't listen, the universe will speak louder. And if you still don't listen, it's going to smack you upside the head.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened to me in the fall of 2010. There was a rash of gay teenagers that were taking their own lives. And I had never seen anything like this before. And thankfully, there's never been anything like it since. At least a dozen LGBTQ teens died by suicide in a window of months, like a couple of months. This journalist named Dan Savage created this campaign called It Gets Better, which was very simple in concept, encouraging older people to make videos for younger people. And I found out about this the very same day that he launched it, because it's my job to be in the know.
Yeah.
And I said, what a great idea. I'm going to make a video. And the response that I got to that video really shook me to my core. It was that Oprah moment where it was like a brick to the head, because in this moment of darkness, I thought I was doing something to spread light and be positive. But the overwhelming majority of people said, how dare you make an It Gets Better video? You're part of the problem. You're a hypocrite. You're a bully.
Wow.
And that's when I said, well, I don't care if I lose everything. I don't care. Like, money is not what's important now. Like, just doing what's right for the world and for myself, and just be and aligning who I really was on the inside with this character that had consumed my life. And listen, I'm not saying character, like, I own it.
Right.
I accept that it wasn't somebody else writing and saying these things. It was me. But, like, Anne's had a very long and successful career. There comes a point in anybody's career where there's a period there where you kind of drink the Kool-Aid and you think your ish don't stink.
Yeah.
But everybody's crap smells. And sometimes you need a reminder, like, take it down a few notches.
Well, it sounds like, I read somewhere that you said something along the lines of, at that time, the attention that you got from what you were doing was kind of like a drug. And so then maybe when you got healthy and you didn't need that attention in that same way? Is that a fair?
No, it's still a drug, and I still battle it. I am honest, but I think like my relationship with food, that's another drug for me, and I think I have a better understanding of it and control over things, which is why I truly carry deep shame and regret, because at the time, I knew what I was doing was wrong. It's not like I can claim naivete. It's not like, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. I knew it and I didn't care. Like a drug addict who might rob somebody or steal from their own family to get money to buy drugs. They know what they're doing is wrong, but they still do it anyway.
I have to claim a little bit of ignorance here, but so forgive me. In
Anne
not
does
knowing,
not consume pop culture.
I do
at
not.
All. We should probably
think
start
that
with
might
that.
be why. Now I'm hearing about you. It might be why I like you so much, because I've only
Anne's
met
like,
you
you've
recently.
said such wonderful things about me. I'm like,
and I bet I
Where did you
fell
read
into
those?
the category of, I guess I feel more specifically that you supported my voice recently. And maybe that's the more appropriate way to say it. There's also a naivete and ignorance on my part, because yes, you're right. I don't follow pop culture. I also don't read any of my reviews, so don't be offended. I always feel like I have a 50-50 shot when it comes to people judging me, and I'll take the 50-50 because I think that's better than going into the negative. And that's kind of how I've lived my life. I have a feeling I was thrown under the bus by you a couple of times. Am I right?
Probably. I don't remember.
We'd have to Google search it.
But the good news for you is that we are not going to unbury that. I'm more interested in the way that we evolve as human beings and the acceptance of others for moving forward in their lives. So I'm an appreciator of that.
Well, I want to talk about.
That wasn't like some BS answer. Like,
I don't feel like it was.
I've been doing what I do for 17 years now.
Yes.
I don't remember 80% of what I wrote back in the day.
Of course.
But I do remember certain things that I would do that I do cringe about now. Like one of the big trends of the moment, everybody's making documentaries about the early 2000s. So I was being interviewed for one recently, and I caught myself slipping up and saying a term that was very popular back in the day that I used to say all the time, and it did not sit with me that it came out of my mouth again. And that term, when talking about this person, was, and it was not about Britney Spears, but it could have been. I said, "Oh, that person was a hot mess," and then I said, "No, no, no, stop! Don't say that."
Right.
Like, I think I've understood. I understand now that instead of saying, "Oh, somebody's a hot mess," like, God, that person's really struggling. That person's going through a lot of issues right now. Like, we don't really know what somebody's going through.
Right.
Well, I think that's, I did a little bit of research, and I was just curious about gossip. And when I was diving into the idea of it more, there's a lot of research out there that actually supports that gossip is good for us, and that in fact 85% or some high number of percentage of gossip is actually harmless. So I think that that's the delineation here, is there's some gossip that can be harmless, and then there's other gossip that actually the research says that it creates social bonds, and it creates accountability, and it brings people together. And
I think I was interviewed for that article in the New York Times, right?
There were several, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
The New York Times did one, and they interviewed.
Yes, it relieves stress.
College professors did this study on it.
It's legit.
I think it just goes back to us being animals, right? Like, we are born curious, and even before there were celebrities, there were the royals, and us commoners were always fascinated by the royals and the nobles of the time, or even, before the age of the internet, we were interested in what the captain of the football team was doing or the head cheerleader was doing. Anybody in perceived positions of power are often interesting to those that don't have that.
Well, and sometimes I think that there is the conversation, and of course it always comes back to intent. Like, what's our intent when we're speaking? Are we speaking about somebody in a way that is, as you're saying, engages us in a curiosity that says, wow, they might be going through something, rather than judging what they're doing? Can we take a pause between judging and accepting that we don't know anything about what's going on, and to be sensitive to that? And I think that's a lot of what we're finding after COVID too. I think there is a common compassion that is being shared right now for people going through the thing that we went through in a completely different way, not understood by us, but that we somehow have felt bonded a bit in thinking that maybe being and having and leading with kindness is a little bit more pleasurable and also appropriate for the time and the age that we're going through. So gossip, banter is one thing to explore why it is that we're fascinated by others, and taking people down, obviously, is the opposite side of the gossip train. But would you say that your children, now you have 3 children?
Yeah.
So when you mentioned that, how old are they?
My son is 8, my middle child is 6, and my youngest will be 4 in a few months.
Oh my gosh.
Well, let's just say right there, what are their names?
Mario, Mia, and Maite.
Well, congratulations, first of all.
That's a handful.
My God, how are you
Thank
handling
you.
Fatherhood?
It is something that I talk about every week in therapy.
I saw you post on Instagram your daughter's 14-minute meltdown, which I thought was beautiful. But you shared that. Like, it's just, our kids are, I've got a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old. So we're through that. And Anne has a 12-year-old and a 20-year-old, or 19-year-old. So we made it through the other side.
It's not an easy journey,
but it's not easy.
I love my children, and I love being a dad, and I set the bar really high for myself. So I constantly feel like a failure. Like those days where I'm just so tired on a Saturday and don't want to do anything, and then I don't do anything, and I feel like I'm letting my kids down because we're just having a chill day at home. But some days you need to just do nothing, and they can enjoy that. Like,
I think it's good for them. If you cater to them too much, then they don't know how to entertain themselves. So,
well, I try to plan for those days when needed. So like this past weekend, we went in the pool one day, awesome, free, didn't have to leave the house. And then the other day we did like a little science experiment. I bought baking soda and ketchup, and you put it in the bottle, and then it like explodes.
Oh, that's fun.
I've done that.
Or the Mentos in the.
I've done that.
We've done that one too, and my kids loved it.
Love it. They love when things explode. I don't know what it is about children, but and that excitement of it. Something's gonna pop and it pop. Maybe we're all the same way still. We love explosions too. Happy 4th of July, by the way, belated. But in this time where you were reflecting on yourself, do you? I kind of know the answer to this question by thinking that the influence we have on our children changes it changes us from being selfish. I mean, it just really does. All of a sudden, you're waking up and you're going like, hold on, I'm looking at these lives and I no longer have the ability, because I'm seeing how complicated they are in front of me. I'm looking at life of others in a little bit more complicated way. And I think the gossip train has a frivolity to it that once you become a person who's engaged in raising little young people, all bets are off to the new way that you become you become a part of the force of nature, really, by having others and the responsibility that feels like I cannot tell you, Perez, every Saturday, if I was working, I said, you can't get me up. You can come into my bedroom at noon, but Mama ain't getting out of bed until 2. And I remember that's me.
That's a dream.
And I was like, I have that. I can claim that right if I'm working home. Well, the children don't understand that. But they
make so much
go
noise,
like, why
especially
are
with
you?
3 of them.
I mean, they what?
Mine makes so much noise. Like it doesn't matter if I tell them not to be quiet. So I'm up on Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m. regardless.
Yeah, that would drive me crazy. And Atlas would stand in the doorway and be screaming at me, "Mommy, Mom, get out of bed." And I'm like, wait a minute, I work for a living and I'm the breadwinner and I'm allowed to. They still talk about it. Like, don't get her out of bed until
you are very on an island in that one. I think that.
Well, but I'm also on an island because I'm an actress who does night shoots and nobody gets home at 4 a.m. anyway. I have a different life, which to children is not something that they care about. Like,
well, that's
whatever,
the point, right? Yeah, they don't care.
And where's my popsicle too? And by the way, are we going to Disneyland today? Like, I don't know. I didn't buy the tickets. But having 3 young ones, I mean, good luck to you. We'll talk to you next year and figure out how that worked out. No, I do want to get into, I think we should get into the gossip of you and how I've become your new BFF.
Okay, let's do that after a quick break.
Okay, coming back.
We'll be right back with Perez Hilton. So recently we did a podcast and we said we weren't going to talk about this anymore. Now we're talking about it again.
Well, I actually just want to ask a direct question because it was the first time that I spoke about Ellen DeGeneres, and that was something that I think we had been waiting to do and needed to do. And Perez, you came on. I don't even want to put into words what you did. You paid attention to that, and I would like to know what your reaction was because you supported that and acknowledged that openness that I was having in an appreciative way, in my opinion. Why did you do that for me?
Well, I thought it was newsworthy, first of all. Okay. And I also was really surprised because the general public knew about your past a long time ago, but they didn't know everything that happened after that. Your story of how her and the show hurt your career in the wake of that breakup. And to me, that's just sad because, there are people in this world that I don't like. And I'm not just BSing. Like, I don't wish ill on anyone.
Yep.
Not even like Donald Trump, whom I would say I actually despise. I despise him. I don't really despise many people. There's probably just 2 people that I hate.
Well, I want to know the other one.
One is Donald Trump. The other one is this awful, awful woman that I was on a reality TV show with.
Oh, don't make us look it up. Who is it?
We don't even need to mention her name, but I did Celebrity Big Brother in the UK.
Oh, okay.
And I was locked in a house or a studio for 4 weeks. She's basically like the British Ann Coulter.
Okay.
Wow.
To explain it.
Hi.
Enough said.
So,
Facade of love and kindness and for real.
yeah, but I want to see people do well, and I don't like I don't. There's this whole trend recently, or I don't even think it's real, but everybody keeps talking about cancel culture or cancellation and all of this. I just think it's the stupidest thing.
Agreed.
I don't believe in cancellation. Nick Cannon said something that resonated with me recently. He said counsel culture, not cancel culture. And
I
I
like
love
that.
Yes, that's
Or
interesting.
like,
Yes.
Council
I even-
culture. Nice.
I even got I get criticized for everything. Like, it was announced that Megyn Kelly, the former Fox
Yes.
News personality, got this new deal with Sirius XM, and I tweeted out congratulations to her.
Yes. Yeah.
And people were saying, "Why are you congratulating her? That's awful." And I said, "Listen, I am consistent. I do not like Candace Owens, but if that political provocateur got a show on Sirius, I'd say congratulations to her.
well,
She worked it."
One thing I
Yes,
noticed
yes.
about you, Perez, is that you are very supportive of people supporting themselves. It was one of the comments you said in Aunt, like that you appreciate her hustle. And I was listening to your podcast just today, and you were talking about Lamar Odom and who did he box with in the ring? I mean, talk about
Aaron Carter.
Yeah, I know we're not allowed to say shit show. So but you said something that you appreciated the fact that Aaron Carter was out there able to, make some money. I think you said, I hope he made some money on it, because I just appreciate that you recognize the importance that people are trying to support themselves. And, and I feel like you recognize that.
Well, I understand it too. I'm very honest about everything. Like in my memoir that came out last year, I talked about all of the dumb mistakes that I made with regards to finances, and also then having 3 kids. So I don't have FU money in the bank. I have to work for a living, like 99% of the people on this planet.
Yes. It does get different when you have children, though, and I have to say,
They take all your money.
I mean, the friends, but we tend to hang out with a lot of single men, gay men. And the shopping sprees, and it's just so funny because you just start to giggle at people who don't have kids, and it really becomes more apparent the older that you get, the separation between when you hear people are out on the weekends and what they're doing, because what I'm out on the weekends doing has a little bit less impact on my paycheck than the playful gentlemen that we are. They're like, look at the flamingo I got. Oh my God, I got new wallpaper. I'm redoing this in silk velvet. And I'm like, we got some canvas for our walls, and we're gonna home decorating this week.
You have never done any of those things.
I do home decorating all the time. What are you talking about?
Right. Not home painting. You called it home painting.
I said home painting on canvas. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen my walls?
Yes, that's called artwork.
Oh,
it's not called
artwork.
painting your
Well,
walls.
yeah, it hasn't sold yet. So once my canvases start selling, then I will call it that. But everything shifts, doesn't it? Do you feel like you miss the do you miss the days when that wasn't a responsibility?
No, I mean, I miss some things from a different lifestyle. Like, I miss traveling the world.
It gets more expensive with children, doesn't it?
It is. So, now we do like Palm Springs or Vegas because it's cheaper.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I'm 43 and I feel like this is the most important decade of life because this is what is going to set me up for the rest of my life. So this is when I have to pull back and be really smart and strategic with my saving and spending so that I don't have to worry about that, hopefully, when I'm in my 50s and beyond.
Because you're going to have to listen to Jason Tartick talk to us this month about budgeting. Everybody get on there, and he gives us some clues about how to do it and what to look at and not be ashamed of it. That's just an aside. Because I think some of the very helpful things about what it is to be looking at a lifestyle of having 3 children who you're going to have to put through school. I mean, it's a big deal.
Saving for that. I set up their education fund.
You are way ahead of most. So congratulations on that.
Definitely true. Perez, first of all, how did you get your name? I mean, I have an idea of how you got the idea, but how did you Can you tell us the story of what were there any what were the names in your idea box?
You have to really remember that back in 2004, when I began, the world didn't know Kim Kardashian, and Paris Hilton was everywhere.
So you could have been.
I mean, if I would have started in
Kim.
2012, it might have been Perez Kardashian.
Right.
Who knows? But I just love the name because my blog originally was called page666.com.
I love that.
Oh my God.
Which is a play on the New York Post gossip column. And then I got sued by the Post.
You did not.
I did. So they made me change it. So
using their name in the devil's name? Using their number?
It was like, I love that name because you kind of instantly got what it was about, right?
Yes, yes.
With Perez Hilton, I feel like the first time anybody heard it, they instantly got what it was about. The Perez is me. It's the outsider. It's the gay. It's the Latino. And Hilton is the mainstream Hollywood. So I always was doing something different when talking about celebrities that really set my site apart at the time.
Do all your friends call you Perez, or is that like...
Some of them do, and some call me Mario, which is my real name.
Right.
So I have a question. Do you have favorite celebrities? I'm going to take myself out of this, but do you have favorites that just make you go like,
he loves Madonna. I know that. I know Madonna.
I'm wearing a Madonna t-shirt.
That's hilarious. For those who are not who cannot see, it is
research.
for real. We did not see Perez's shirt until Heather said that. Ding, ding, ding.
Do my research.
I mean, growing up gay and in Miami in the 80s and 90s, like my holy trinity were Madonna, Oprah Winfrey, and Gloria Stefan.
I was going to say.
Yes.
Those were my three.
Is Ricky Martin in that?
He was later,
was that when he was pre-gay at that time?
He was. I loved Ricky though. I mean, I was a fan of Ricky since the early 90s because I was familiar with the Spanish language music first.
Oh my goodness. Right, of course.
But I wasn't, like a Menudo fan. So I didn't really grow up with him in the 80s. And those three women, I did grow up with them in the 80s.
Oh, Menudo. Was that like Milli Vanilli? Like,
no, not even close.
No, Milli Vanilli were the fakers.
They were the boy band.
Yeah.
That they sang in Spanish.
Oh, God. I bet they were cute. No wonder you were into them. On Better Together, we talk about obviously people who better us and each other. And that's why Heather and I are partners. And we wonder often who it is that inspires you to, bring yourself. We talk about being your most fabulous self. And sometimes that isn't so simply easy because sometimes you have to look at your friend and be told stuff that's difficult so you can get to your most fabulous self. Do you have a person that you count on as your betterer?
Well, I'm very lucky. And also this helps me to explain differences to my kids. But it's not that different from where I'm from. I grew up in Miami and both of my parents were Cuban immigrants. Wow. And I grew up in a household where my grandparents lived with us. And my mom lives with us as well now.
Really?
And yeah.
That's nice.
That's helpful.
She's so helpful.
Oh my goodness.
With more than just, helping me with the kids, like just having her there all the time. Like I can just go to her. Like she has a little guest house right next to mine. So I can just go to, she has her own space, which she demanded.
That's terrific. And necessary. She's a smart woman.
Having her so close is invaluable to me because it's so calming and centering. And even if I sometimes do this, like I will just go and sit in her house while she's watching TV and work, and just being around her calms me and helps me in so many ways. But I tell my kids, every family is different. Yes. You have a dad and you have a grandmother that lives with you. And in Los Angeles, it's not really that common to have grandma live with you. No. But, what makes your family different also makes it special and awesome.
Oh, that sounds like the perfect thing to be telling a kid. But they sound like very lucky children. And your mom, too. What's her name? Let's give her a shout out.
Her name is Teresita.
Teresita.
Like Teresa. Like little Teresa.
That's cute.
Oh, the little Mother Teresa.
Dominique calls me Heatheritza.
Heatheritza.
Well, Perez, what if you could look back on your career, what is there a story or a project or a platform that you're on that you're most proud of and least proud of?
The thing that I'm most proud of, probably even more than my memoir, I'm proudest of writing my children's book, because that was really unexpected for people at the time, like me coming out of the children's book.
What's the name of it?
I want to read that children's book.
It's called The Boy with Pink Hair.
My.
It did come out after, post change, when I decided no longer to be a see you next Tuesday.
Okay.
But, songwriters will say that sometimes they don't write the songs write themselves, or that it comes pouring out of them, or that they're the co-author of it. And all that I had was this title for the book, because it all happened really bizarrely. I had released my second book at the time, and I was at a conference, and Mario Lopez had written a children's book, and we were both on the same panel together, and I said, I want to write a children's book, jokingly, and I'm going to call it The Boy with Pink Hair.
Yeah.
And I had never thought of writing a children's book before, and I don't even know how that title came into my mind. But as soon as it did, I'm like, this has to happen.
Yes.
And then I sat down to write it, and it wrote itself in one sitting. And I felt like I was channeling, as they say, like I was plugged in, and it just in 30 minutes, I sat down and it wrote itself. And I just love the message behind the book. And a lot of people still will tell me that they read it to their kids, and it's in libraries. And I feel like it's something that will be forever, hopefully.
And what is the message of the book?
That your differences make you special, that instead of something that's bad, that you really should be celebrating what makes you different.
That's a pretty damn good message, I would say. We're celebrating you for being different, and I hope you're celebrating us for being different, because that's what we celebrate on Better Together, because we can't be everything ourselves. We have to have other
we still
people
need
to
the
be our
flip side
congregation.
answer. What's the thing that you're the least proud of?
Oh, God. What I'm least proud of...
That's a very difficult
There's
question.
so much. I mean,
no.
I don't want to skate away from that answer. There's just too much. I'm least proud of the hurt that I caused people through my shocking, provocative, trying to entertain at all costs ways, because that's real. And in my mind, I didn't care, but I did not view celebrities like real people.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that it's a really important point to delineate when you were doing that sort of reporting to now with social media, and you almost, even though you don't really get to know celebrities, you do know, you do get an insight. It's sort of strange to say, but while we're more connected, we're less connected, but we are connected in a way that we weren't, like back in the 90s, when you would just be able to say something and it goes out there, and you wouldn't really hear you wouldn't have people's fans all coming together on a platform telling you how they feel about it, or you just didn't have
numbers to tell you what their opinion was.
You just didn't have that same feedback. So I feel like you could say something and you wouldn't get that same backlash or feedback or
Well, what's interesting is I know that I've evolved, but I don't know if the general public has that much. At least not with regards to all celebrities. They have when it comes to Britney Spears, but yet people, because of the anonymity of social media, will leave the most just insane comments on celebrities' Instagrams or Twitter. And think nothing of it. And they would never say something like that to somebody's face in the real world.
Right. It's a particular type of person, too. Like, even
who will respond to something that you've reported, say, on Britney Spears, and then you get then somebody says a horrendous thing back to get back to you somehow.
But I'll take myself out of the equation because, I dished it and I could, quote, take it.
Yes.
But somebody like, Khloe Kardashian, for example, people will leave just the most hurtful comments about her, or talking about Britney Spears, her sister recently. When trying to support Britney, people have been sending death threats to her sister.
Now,
Like,
what? No,
that makes no sense.
They didn't think her sister supported her appropriately.
I know, but her sister spoke out again. I know more about the
Every
pop
time
culture
she
than I
knows
ever
something,
have
I'm
before, and it's because
fascinated.
of this damn podcast we've got going on. I'm actually interested. I'm starting to pay attention. But the sister came out in support of her sister, so why would people be giving her death
Because
threats?
they were saying that it was too little, too late, and I think she said something.
Well, listen, I am a girl who has had my sister not support me, and it is brutal.
Yes.
When you don't get that. And I understand that it was years later, and I don't actually know Britney's point of view because I have not spoken to her, but I do understand the point of view of, hey, where were you when I actually really needed you to stand up for me? And so I bet there are some really hurt emotions going on there. And unfortunately, it has to be done in a public way because Britney's life has to be done in a public way because that's why it was a problem that she, that's how big the insanity was. So it has to come out in that big of a story because come on, she's got to get her money for herself and she's been controlled for so long. That's my opinion. I don't know all the details of it, and I'm sure you've reported on way more details than I know.
Nobody really knows. Nobody really knows everything that's happened all these years. We know some things that have happened, but only Britney and her sister knows what's gone on between the two of them.
Well, between the two of them, exactly. And isn't there what you were talking about? Just to get back to gossip, in a way we're all gossiping. I mean, that's what we are. That's what we do. We talk about others so that we learn from other people.
Earlier, the delineation between really hurtful gossip and just talking about,
because it helps us learn.
Talking about Bennifer being back together, like
are
that's
they back together?
Yes.
Oh, see, I didn't know if that was
Isn't
true
that
or not.
Fascinating.
It's totally fascinating.
I learned it on Perez's podcast today.
Oh, really?
Yes,
really? I knew that before you?
He was proven to be, I didn't know if it was true. But
he was proven not to be manipulating, controlling what?
He was hanging out with her mother in Las Vegas. So why would he be hanging out with her mother if they weren't an item? So
well, probably not unless he's dating the mother. And I don't think that's probably a rumor we don't want to start here. But you know what? Let's let Perez start that rumor. But listen, the amount of stories that need to be told in order for people to understand how to treat other people, there is that flip side to being able to talk about how we better others and how we might speak about them in a supportive way.
I would also like to say that I think that I see similarities with Britney's story and yours in that we looked at things so differently back then. Like Anne's entire story and all the controversy and that you went through would be looked at completely different.
Yes, when told the truth, it's the complete flip side of what people understood.
The same thing would be said for Britney when she had success and issues and I think that we would have just looked at it differently. I say the same thing about Monica Lewinsky.
I don't know because I think of Kanye West last year.
Well, that's true.
He went through some very public moments. And I don't think the public was, as Anne said, was leading with kindness. They were leading with...
Yeah, but
no. I say that's what we're doing on Better Together. I don't include anybody else in this. In
our tribe, our Better Together tribe. But I think that might have been his Trumpy ways that got people.
But we could all understand that maybe there's some mental health issues at play. And even though it was his Trumpy ways, we should have maybe had some more compassion for him. And people didn't.
Is that if you would sum up, and it's been such a joy to talk to you, but if you would say, sometimes we ask what our guests would say to the generation before them or the person that you were 10 years ago. And I think this is an important moment to ask.
What advice would you
give yourself or to others in that you said you're 43 and I'm 52. So I'm looking at the next decade and you said like your decade is going to be the most important. I thought that at 42. And then you get to 50. I'm like, this is going to be the most successful decade. This is the best. So I look forward to talking to you.
I'm much younger than you, but
yes, you are. Yeah. But your next decade is going to be good too. But Well, and I mean this genuinely, and the wisdom that you've shared with us. And by the way, thank you. What do you think you would offer in terms of advice to that person 10 years younger than you?
So I'll give you two different answers. And when I was 33, I was in a real good place by then. So I'll take it back to 23 or even
Cool.
13.
Okay.
I would tell my teenage self, even if I did not want to hear it, the importance of being healthy at a younger age, because
Wow.
it was just never important to me, whether it was not getting enough sleep or not eating well or not exercising. Being healthy is so important. So I would say that. And then what I would tell this younger generation, based on my understanding of life, is that, and I was guilty of this, and I've observed, and I think it's become even more extreme as the years have gone on. Teenagers nowadays, or people in their 20s, are some of the most intolerant people. They are
True
not
that.
very accepting of people with different points of view. And I would say not everything is black and white in life.
Isn't it
It's
funny
not.
that we're still needing to say that? But that is an impact that you're having from that age group. It's very. I just want to put a pin in that because I'd like to ask you why you think that is.
Because I think young people think they've got it all figured out. And then when you
Right.
get older, you realize, oh no, I didn't have anything figured out.
Yes, so it would be lovely if we could wake up that 20-year-old generation to go, hey, look, there's another side. There's another side than what you're looking at, and it's not just yours. I like that advice.
Well, I got to say, our show is really about getting to know people and honest talk. And I
Yes.
think that there might be people listening that might have a different idea about the person you are. And I really am just grateful that we had the opportunity to talk to you today and really hear that you're a cool dude.
You're a cool dude, man. Thank you for being a
Thank
part of
you.
our tribe. What a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
have Perez on with us today. Until next time, everybody, live in love and kindness.
And don't be a dick.
We're better together with Ann and Heather.
Look, I didn't know what to expect with Perez Hilton, to be honest. I think that he one thing you can say is that everybody knows his name.
Well, I mean, I've just learned it, but yes.
That is a lie. You know it.
What I took away from today was that whether or not how well I knew him or not, and whatever his past was and his history was, is I'm getting better at pop culture. But that what I take away from this is the ability for anybody to have a transformation in their life and look at it and come clean about it. And I think we have a responsibility to that. And it was so when we talk about take away, what do we take away from this Better Together? And I think it kind of became a consistent message throughout this podcast, which is that when we look at others, we do not know what they have been through. We don't have any right to judge. It is ours to ask of others, maybe pause before our opinion comes out, because we don't always have a moment to engage others in our ability to transform. So start with open, start with non-judgment, begin with kindness, and then go from there. Because as Heather has now taught us, gossip is healthy.
I thought you were going to say Heather has taught us not to be a dick.
That's kind of it too.
And also, I think to not ignore your past. One thing that I respect about Perez is he made a statement earlier in the year. I think it was to Newsweek, where he said, I'm just showing off with my research.
You really are. Very good research.
That he said that he didn't take down all of his old negative posts that he was ashamed of.
Right.
And he didn't do that because he said that he needs to be accountable for it.
Well, so but he also said if he takes them down, he gets shit for it too. I mean, that was the other side.
Well, yes, he did. I think he did.
He's
say
like,
that.
I don't know, if I take it down, if I put it up, it doesn't even matter because people are going to come after me. And there is a little bit of you get what you give. And I think that he's sitting in that place with as much dignity as he possibly can, which I respect, saying, I get it. I'll take it. I'm here to have accountability, and yet I'm also changed. But
we learned that he was almost Perez Kardashian.
He was almost Mr. Kardashian.
All right.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, guys. Until
Cheers.
next week.
Make sure you subscribe and tell your friends to subscribe. If everybody told one friend to subscribe, we'd be
toasting you at every.
We'd be talking
Thursday.
about cat food or something in the end here. We'd have to squeeze in that last promo.
Right. That's right.
We'll invite you to the launch party.
Yes.
Yes.
And a big thanks to our Better Together team, Ryan Tillotson, Sebastian Alcala, Daniel Ferreira, and of course, Ann and Heather. If you haven't already, please subscribe on whatever device or platform you're listening to this on. And as always, see you next week.
We're better together with Ann and Heather.